Hello, I'm Nick Payne.
Wow, has it really been 10 years since I first recorded my original introduction for Universals? Yeah, pretty much. And that's the only bit of the first iteration, that piece of footage is the only bit that survives at the start of the new introduction from the July 2016 one from the reboot. So, in celebration of 10 years of that reboot happening this summer, and last week being the 10th anniversary of the original iteration, well, happy 10th anniversary Universals, with the first iteration celebrating its 10th anniversary this month, and the reboot, this channel, celebrating its 10th anniversary in July. Stay tuned for stuff regarding that. As for now, let's talk about Doctor Who episode time length and season episode counts. So I'm talking about this because recently a Reddit leak was posted regarding plans for the upcoming Doctor Who 2026 Christmas special, which I don't even know if that's even started being written, let alone filmed yet. So these are all maybe plans, maybe ideas, maybe some people wishful thinkings, but quite a bit of them do sound like that does make a lot of sense if that's being planned. Some of it's a bit far fetched, like why World War Two again. But quite a bit of it, like the Billy Piper as the Rose Tyler trying to find the 16th Doctor with help from the 14th and Rose Noble. Maybe a 15th Doctor cameo, and they'll reveal the 16th Doctor at the end if everything for the following season is put in place, etc. That all sounds fairly reasonable, and it's going to be an epic um, hopping story, possibly have Daleks in it, hopefully wrap up the whole thing with the boss, if that's not carrying on, and maybe it being RTD's final episode, we'll see. Same about what happens beyond that, if he stays on, if Bad Wolf is sticking around, or if somebody else takes over. Personally, I think someone who has written for the show at least once, preferably 2 or 3 times, so a small number of times, but at least once, would be a good choice for showrunner. I'm sure there's plenty of other great people who haven't written for it yet, um, especially if they are fans. But in my personal opinion, if you've at least written for the show and you understand it and or you enjoy writing for it, then you should stay on. So, whilst Pete Matigue wouldn't be my first choice, I can see why he is a safe bet, for example. Or Neil Cross, out of the other people that they suggested, he has written 2 episodes in 2000. He wrote them for Series 7, 2013. He probably wrote them in 2012. So honestly, I would actually be happy with him being on board. But Sully Wainwright and Jack Ford would be good choices for. I can't remember the other person's name, and there's also the American chap who also mentioned he would be interested in doing it, and they probably proved themselves. It's just that I think you have to at least write for the show at least once, even if it's the season before, even if it's like if you wrote an episode in the previous showrunner's final series, then yeah, you're on board. So that's my thinking. I was like that when they were wondering who's going to replace Chris Chibnall. I was thinking about when they were saying who's going to replace Stephen Moffat, and Chris Chibnall did write a couple of episodes before that, so that was fine for me. That was fine by me. But yeah, I think someone who should have written at least a episode for the series or expand the medium. Happy with that. To then go on to be the showrunner. And I think Pete Matigue, even though he wouldn't be my first choice, he's done 3 episodes. You know, he's co-done War Between. He's written an episode for Series 13 that wasn't made at the time, but might still be done later. And he's done a lot of stuff for the box sets, the collection box set stuff, especially the short films. So, in my opinion, not my personal favorite choice, and but would be okay, would be happy with it, would be okay with it. But my main reason for making this video is the idea of the BBC wanting to do 3 to 5 90-minute episodes of Doctor Who each year or each series, in a Sherlock style of broadcast. Sherlock, created by Mark Gatiss and Stephen Moffat, names you all recognise no doubt, um, was each series, there was 4 series from 2010 to 2017, plus a New Year special in 2016. But each of the 4 series in 2010, 12, 14, and 17 were 3 90-minute episodes each. And the last one was about 100 minutes, and the New Year special was about 90 to 100 minutes as well. As was the Dracula series that they created and produced for 2020. So that's what the BBC want to see, or so this Reddit leak claims. The BBC want to do 3 to 5 90-minute episodes per year or per series, due to the 8-episode format not having worked, apparently. I'll circle back around to this because this is a main point of discussion, but let's talk about the Doctor Who episode formats for the previous 41 seasons. Yes, all 41, and specials. Right, first things first, let's get this obvious point out of the way. Every episode from seasons 1 to 21, except Resurrection of the Daleks and the Five Doctors, and season 22, every episode was 25 minutes. Okay, maybe 30 minutes for Trial of a Time Lord Part 14. Actually, that one was a little bit longer. But, you know, apart from that, and apart from Five Doctors and Resurrection of the Daleks broadcast version, every episode was 25 minutes each. Now, the stories would range between multiple parts. You got Mission to the Unknown, which was a single-parter, but you can add that to the 12-parter Daleks Master Plan to make that a 13-parter. It's effectively part 0. You've got a couple of 2-parters. You have a few 3-parters, more so towards the end because of the episode limitations. We'll get back to that regarding how many episodes they could have per series. There was a few 5-parters earlier on as well. In the late 60s, early 70s, there was a couple of 7-parters in the 60s and 70s. There was The Invasion, which was 8 parts, The War Games, which was 10, and the aforementioned The Daleks Master Plan, which was 12. And the 14-parter season-long story, The Trial of a Time Lord, which I'm going to come back to later. However, 4-parters were the most common. In fact, the majority of stories are 4-parters, although 6-parters are a close second in terms of the most number of stories. With this number of episodes, 6 would be the second most common. And until the end of the 70s was the case, there was quite a few 6-parters. In the Tom Baker era, they usually served as the season finales. Season 22, in the terms of the episode length, is the odd one out, as all 13 episodes of that season were 45-minute episodes, so you'd have 2 45-minute episodes for a story as opposed to 4 25-minute episodes. In the case of the 2 Doctors, 3 45-minute episodes as opposed to the equivalent 6 25-minute episodes. Resurrection of the Daleks also had its 4 25-minute episodes edited into 2 45-minute episodes for broadcast due to the 1984 Winter Olympics being broadcast at the time, and this was a way to show the story in 2 double-length episodes as opposed to the usual 4 25-minute episode version. In terms of the episodes per season, for the first 6 seasons, Doctor Who was supposed to run almost all year. It was supposed to run nearly every week of the year. Sometimes they might miss a week, but they'll cut back to it a little bit later on, and they'd have a couple of weeks in between the end of one season and the start of the next. Usually in the mid to late summer or early to mid-autumn. So season 1 ended up being 42 episodes overall after all 8 stories of that season had aired. The second season had 9 stories but aired 39 episodes. There was a few more shorter stories in that one compared to the previous. Season 3 had 10 stories, but apart from the 2 Dalek stories, that was all 4-parters. The Dalek stories being 1 and 12, respectively. But that season overall was still 45 episodes. Season 4 had 43 episodes, with the first 2 stories formed of the first 8 episodes being with William Hartnell, and the remaining 7 stories with the remaining 35 episodes being with Patrick Troughton. 9 stories overall. Seasons 5 and 6 would both be 7 stories each, but season 5 would be 40 episodes exactly, although that season was all 6 episodes except for Tomb of the Cybermen, which was 4, and then season 6 was 44 episodes. From season 7 to 21, every season would have between 20 and 28 episodes each. Seasons 7 and 8 would have 25. Seasons 9, 10, and 11 would have 26. Season 12 would have 20. Seasons 13, 14, 15, and 16 would all have 26. Season 17 was supposed to have 26, but because Sharda didn't get broadcast-wise it is 20, though Sharda did get completed in 2017 with the new animation, the updated visual and special effects, and the newly shot footage with Tom Baker at the very end. That was an omnibus version of the story. However, 4 years later in 2021, for the Collection Season 17 Blu-ray box set, a 6-part version with updated animation and the updated models and visual effects was released along with the omnibus version of the story. Sorry, DVD fans, that version's Blu-ray and iPlayer only. So while Season 17 only broadcast 20 episodes, technically, if you include the 2021 version, it is back to 26 episodes. Season 18 has the most episodes post the 1960s, with 28 episodes. Season 19 was also supposed to be 28 episodes, but due to a production block being used for K9 and Company's pilot episode, A Girl's Best Friend, a single 15-minute episode, likely if had been successful to spawn a series afterwards, would have resulted in 25-minute episodes. Whether those would have been single-parters or like the Sarah Jane Adventures 2-parters is unknown, but the pilot is 50 minutes. This led to Season 19 being 26 episodes again. Season 20 was supposed to follow suit, but due to strike action, Resurrection of the Daleks, or The Return, as it was called at the time, was pushed back to the following season. So Season 20 only has 22 episodes, plus the 5 Doctors, which is a single 90-minute long episode, or 100 minutes with the special edition, which would take it to 23 episodes overall if we were counting 5 Doctors. Season 21 was also supposed to be 26 episodes, but as I mentioned with the aforementioned re-editing of Resurrection of the Daleks, is 4 episodes into 2 double-length episodes. The season would end up broadcasting 24 episodes, although before 2011 you would get the 4-part version of Resurrection on home video releases, so DVD and VHS. The 2011 special edition DVD had both, and hopefully the upcoming The Collection Season 21 Blu-ray will as well. This also meant that the last 4 episodes and the final story was with Colin Baker's Doctor, whilst Peter Davison had the other 6 stories and the other 20 episodes, stories per season as well. Season 7 had 4 stories. Seasons 8 through 12 had 5. Seasons 13 to 16 had 6. Season 17 is 5, but would be 6 with Sharda. Seasons 18 and 19 is 7. Season 20 is 6, plus 5 Doctors. And Season 26 with Peter Davison and 1 with Colin Baker. Now we get to Season 22. Now for Season 22, instead of going for 26 25-minute episodes, the production team decided to go for 13 45-minute episodes, similar to Resurrection of the Daleks' broadcast version. So they would have 2 45-minute episodes per story, or in the case of the 3 Doctors, 3 45-minute episodes, as opposed to 4 or 6 25-minute episodes. This was the only season that actually used that in the classic series, although plans were afoot for Season 23 to follow suit. This season would consist of 6 stories, but during the broadcast of the season, the BBC announced that the series would be cancelled, / later amended to be on hiatus. That gave the production team some time to plan the 23rd season, but it couldn't be in the same format as Season 22 for whatever reason. Probably because the BBC decided, in their infinite wisdom, to give the series 14 25-minute episodes. So while Season 22 you had half as many episodes, they were twice as long each, therefore being the same length as a 26-episode season, or maybe a little bit less. Knock off about an hour and 5 minutes. But in the case of Season 23 to 26, it was only 14 25-minute episodes. So you've halved the episode count that Season 18 had. Trial of a Time Lord was, of course, produced as sort of a way to use that to the advantage, and as a story to tell across these 14 episodes, a big 14-part story with 3 4-part and 1 2-part segments feeding into the season. Starting with Sylvester McCoy's era, they then did 4 and 3-part stories across the final 3 seasons, and they would be 4 stories each, Trial being 1 story but with 4 segments. The same number of episodes and stories was also planned for Season 27 before that was cancelled, when the series was put on indefinite hiatus, and then officially cancelling that afterwards. By the way, whilst we're here, the TV movie is 89 minutes, or at least for the US version. The UK, because we transferred it to POW as opposed to NTSC, it was a bit faster over here, so it was 86 minutes. 85 for the broadcast because of some edits due to violence. Going into the new series, the format for each episode was 45 minutes per episode, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less from Series 1 to 10 and Series 14 and 15. For the record, Seasons 1 and 2 under Bad Wolf / Disney Plus, I'm going to call Series 14 and 15 to avoid confusion. And to be honest, we don't know what Series 16, Season 42 is going to get called when we get to that. Is it going to be Season 3? Is it going to be Season 1 again? I really hope not. Is it going to be Season A or Series A or whatever? So to avoid confusion, I'm calling the Ncuti Gatwa era Series 14 and 15, and everything afterwards Series 16 and onwards. Is that where I start calling them all Season 27 onwards from Christopher Eccleston? Your choice. Anyway, Series 1 to 10 and Series 14 and 15, the typical episode length is 45 minutes, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less, depending. Some of the later episodes would go a little bit more, maybe nearer to 50 minutes, but not quite. Some episodes would be longer. I will get back to specials in a bit. I'm going to focus on the series episodes. But Jenny's End would be the first episode of a series that would be a different time length as opposed to around the 45-minute mark, going to 65-minute episodes. It's the first 65-minute episode. This would be followed by a few other episodes over the next few years of breaking the 45 or 50-minute time mold and having a few longer minutes. Sometimes it would be a 50, 55, 60 or 65-minute episode in a series. In the case of the Series 8 Open A Deep Breath, it was 75 minutes. I'm not sure why, but they decided to do that. During the Jodie Whittaker era with Series 11, 12 and 13, episodes were 15 minutes, typically, apart from a few that were a bit longer. Again, 55, 60, 65 minutes. Series 1 to 7 had 13 episodes each, and not including specials. Series 1 and 2 would be 10 stories, Series 3 is 9, Series 4 and 5 are 10, Series 6 is 11, and Series 7, every episode was a single-parter, so 13. Series 8 through 10 were 12 episodes each, and Series 8 and 10 only had one two-parter, which took them to 11 stories in total. Series 9 had a few more two-parters, but despite claiming it was a series full of two-parters, except even no more, actually some of those were more interconnected stories that just carried on from each other. So The Girl Who Died, Woman Who Lived is not actually a two-parter, they're just connected in the same for Face the Raven, Heaven Sent, Hellbent. Series 11 and 12 had 10 episodes, and Series 13 was going to have 10 episodes as well. We'll get back onto that in a bit. Series 11, again, every episode that series was a single-parter, so you got 10 stories, not including the special. And Series 12 had 8 due to having two-parters at the start and end. Series 13 likely would have followed a similar route, maybe having another two-parter in the middle perhaps, but due to COVID, the fucking pandemic, the season ended up becoming 6 episodes, and they did a Trial of a Time Lord where they did each episode being one chapter of a 6-part story. So it was a 6-episode story, single story, but like Trials, 4 segments, each chapter sort of served as its own thing as well. A similar thing happened with Tortured Children of Earth, and to a lesser extent, Miracle Day, and I guess The War Between the Land and the Sea recently as well. As I mentioned earlier, the Jodie era had 50 minutes episodes for each episode, apart from a few where it was a bit longer. Interestingly, with Flux, only half the season is actually 50 minutes for each episode. Only the odd-numbered episodes, Orders on Tarans and The Vanquishers, go to 60 minutes, and Village of the Angels is 55. So I'm not sure why the even-numbered episodes go a bit longer. Finally, series 14 and 15 are both 7 stories each, as they are comprised of 8 episodes, including a two-parter at the end. As for specials, these usually are 60 minutes in length, though Voyage of the Damned did break that mould fairly earlier on, becoming 70, maybe even 75 minutes in length. It's a bit conflicting between 70 and 75 minutes. But that was the first episode to go beyond 45 to 60 minutes in length of the new series, and the longest episode since the TV movie, though not as long as that, of course. With the exception of The End of Time, all of them comprising of single-parters, as is Voyage of the Damned. Also, the animated specials, The Infinite Quest and Dreamland, whilst they were originally shown in multiple shorter parts, the full-length versions of the stories are 45 minutes long, and so they're effectively the length of a single 45-minute episode. End of Time Part 2 was 75 minutes length, and along with Part 1, that story is the first 2-part special. And I think at this point in time, the only 2-part special to be broadcast. Spyfall's not a special, it's a season opener. The specials of the 11th and 12th Doctors would also be an hour long, except for the 50th anniversary special, The Day of the Doctor, which was 75 minutes. Although originally, Twice Upon a Time was apparently almost an hour and a half with the original cut, and it was cut down to just an hour. The Jodie specials are where things get interesting. Whilst Resolution is an hour long, which is only 10 minutes longer than the regular episodes, but that makes sense, it's a special. Revolution of the Daleks adds an extra 10 minutes on top of that to make it 70 minutes. Then Eve of the Daleks is 60 minutes again. So Resolution and Eve are normal for special lengths, and Revolution is a bit longer. And then you get to Legend of the Sea Devils, which is 48. Not even 50 minutes, it's 48. It's not even the length of the then typical 13th Doctor era episode length. There was some behind the scenes troubles back then. It was during the bloody pandemic. Fucking pandemic. And then Power of the Doctor is 89 minutes. So that one is near to the 90 minutes, and it makes it the longest episode since the 5 Doctors. Going into the 60th anniversary specials and the 15th Doctor Christmas specials, again, the broadcast times were between 54 and 61 minutes. So around the 55 and 60 minute mark, which makes a bit of sense, especially for being a bit longer than the back to 45 minute episode run times for series 14 and 15. And if I was to predict how long the 2026 Christmas special was going to be, well, it would definitely have to be at least an hour. I don't even think it would be 50 or 55 minutes because they've got a lot to do. They've got so much to do in that episode. They've got to explain what's going on with Billie Piper. They've got to wrap up the boss if that's not being carried over to the next series. If they've got a Doctor who's the 16th Doctor who's gotten lost, they've got to go and find them. Stuff with the 14th Doctor, perhaps. Stuff with the Daleks, perhaps. Apparently stuff with this World War II thing, although, again, this is a Reddit leak. You can't... you've got to take this all with a pinch of salt. You've got a plot to deal with. If you're wrapping up, you've got Susan, maybe. You maybe have the 15th Doctor make an appearance. You maybe have stuff with the Noble family. You maybe have stuff with the Tyler family in the alternate universe, parallel world. There was this whole rumor about Paul McGann being in it. There's a whole lot of speculation going on. But even if you just boil it down to the main fundamental facts of resolving the Billie Piper situation, maybe also wrapping up the era as well, depending on what's going on next. Maybe it's sorting out the boss, Susan, etc. You've still got a lot to do, alongside a story as well, especially if these leaks are apparently true, and it's a big time-space hopping adventure. Then, yeah, you've still got quite a bit to do. 60 minutes would be the minimum, I would say. You've got to do that, especially if you're going to be introducing a new Doctor at the end, after all. Fingers crossed. So, yeah, you've got to do at least 60 minutes. I would honestly be very happy if it was actually 70, 75 minutes. It is a Christmas Day slot, so I don't expect it to go too long. Or then again, Voyage of the Damned. But that was 2007 and they had Kylie Minogue, so... but, yeah, I think 60 to 75 minutes would be ideal. I honestly would actually like it to be 80, maybe even 90 if they needed to, like a big Power of the Doctor-esque special. But they probably won't do that. So they might do something like Time of the Doctor, but End of Time Part 2, Day of the Doctor, Deep Breath length. Or at the very least, Voyage of the Damned, Revolution of the Daleks. Even 65 minutes, whilst that's sort of kind of a bit normal for extended episodes nowadays, would still work for a special. For a standalone single-part special that's being made on its own. It would still work. So now we get back onto the point of this video, and sorry for it being quite long. So beyond the 2026 Christmas special, according to this Reddit leak, the BBC are wanting the series to be 3 to 5 90-minute episodes going forward. So basically double the length of these episodes which we've got currently, which are themselves, if we say 45 to 50 minutes, are double the length of what classic series episodes are. So a 2-part classic series story would be a single-part new series story. For example, if you've got a 4-parter classic, it'd be a 2-part new series one in terms of the length. So 90 minutes an episode is basically an hour and a half. That's basically twice as long as the current new series episodes and almost 4 times the length of a classic series one. You basically have yourself a near entire 4-parter broadcast in one go. If you were comparing the classic series episode length to this proposed one. And whilst I think the 90 minutes episodes work really well for specials and for movies, in terms of the actual normal ones, I would say I wouldn't really be up for this one. I think 45, 50, even 60 minutes makes a lot more sense per episode. And I know the 8-episode format hasn't really worked very well recently, but that's as it's trying to both be appealing to the streaming audiences and also sticking to the Doctor Who episodic format since 2005, Stan Flux. But because it's both episodic stories, but you only have 8 episodes, last to a 2-parter, you don't really have a huge enough amount of time for character and story development over each respective season, nor do you really have... I mean, you can binge individual episodic episodes. You do it all the time with anime, or if you're binging an older program. But I think the reason this model hasn't worked is because even though you can binge individual episodes episodically, it doesn't have to be an ongoing story, etc. But because it's trying to both be a binging series and also the episodic one, it's kind of confused about what it wants to do. In my opinion, it should have stuck to the episodic format, focus being more the broadcast TV first, but also and then the binging is sort of like you do that later, like once the episodes are out. I mean, it's not they're going to have all the episodes available to binge all together. So I'd say focus on the broadcast first, especially since the British audience is the primary audience. And I think a few more episodes, a bit more character development, and a bit more building up to across the series, and a couple more stories, and you've got yourself a solid series to air both on telly and to binge on streaming, even if they're episodic. Maybe having a bit more of a tighter through line, so those binging can then pick up on that through line, saying, "Hey, this is leading to somewhere." So yeah, I think going forward, the idea should be thinking about the broadcasts first, but having a through line that connects most, if not all, the stories. Maybe not all, but most of the stories, and then when you're binge watching the whole series, you can pick up on that and think, ah. I know some people have said that the model that they started with the mystery box in 2005 going forward for most series hasn't quite worked, but I think you can probably modify it to still work as a good series arc going forward, whatever you do with it. And I think it will still be done in an interesting way as you go through the series. As same for the character development. So I think what we could do is maybe we could take, if this leak is somewhat true, let's use it as a base of improving that idea, because I don't think 3 to 5 90-minute episodes would entirely work. And also, what about the specials? Is this going to be a series? Is it going to be a series and some specials? Is it going to be a series and a special? It's not really very clear, is it? We could use this as a basis of a improvement. So what I was just saying, and with that, let's change it. This is my proposal. So unless the BBC are able to get a new partner after the Disney deal is completely finished, because War Between still got to air internationally, or stream internationally, and the 2026 special is likely being completely in-house production, but starting from Series 16, 2027, there might be a new partner, and or they'll just carry on making it in-house as like before. Hopefully they'll then be able to get some new streaming rights or broadcast rights for international audiences. Okay, but in either case, Series 16, I'm going to say go back to 10 episodes, go back to Series 11 and 12 model, but every 2 episodes forms a single 90-minute story or serial. So basically, we're doing season 22 again. Basically, you do 3 to 5 2-part stories a season. So then you've got your 6, 8, or 10 45-minute episodes, or maybe 50-minute episodes, maybe even 60-minute episodes if you want it to be a bit longer. I wouldn't mind those episodes being a bit longer. In other words, every story is a 2-parter, and you get 3, 4, 5 of them. You get 3 to 5 two-parters, 90-minute stories across 6 to 10 45-minute episodes. And if it's not 10, or if it's not 5 two-parters, you can still throw in a few single-parters in there. Maybe you'll save an episode for the Christmas special if you've only got a 10-episode production block, although hopefully they'd have an 11th for that. Or if it's 8 episodes, they'll hopefully have a 9th for the Christmas one. So that's my proposal. You take the BBC's what they want to do, but instead of being 3 to 5 90-minute episodes, it's 3 to 5 90-minute stories split across 2 45 to 50-minute episodes each, making 10 episodes of the series. Give or take what you want to do for the special, and maybe also having an odd single parter in there to break it up. But for the general parts, multiple, maybe for series 16 they could do this model with a special afterwards or before, whatever the broadcast is, and then after that they can then maybe decide if they want to have a few less two-parters and have a few more single-parters. But in the terms of the production, that would certainly help with money and time and cost and casting, etc. You'd have the same cast, sets, locations and stuff. And like I said, series 17 onwards, they could even play around with that. Maybe they'll have a few more single-parters and a few less two-parters. Maybe some episodes are a bit longer than others because of what's happening in the stories. But yeah, that could be the model we could go down. So if BBC, if you're listening and this rumour is true, take this idea on board, because honestly, it's the best of both worlds. It's what you want and what the fans and audiences would prefer, compromised, and also that means we get more episodes, but done in the shorter number stories model that you suggested. And it still fits a similar amount of time that you have wanted. So yeah, let's do this. Let's do the modern season 22 in terms of structure. And let's do 3 to 5 two-part stories, 45 to 50 minutes each, 90 to 100 minutes overall, maybe 60-minute episodes, maybe even going to 2 hours for the stories overall. And then for the next series, plus a special, which would be 60, 65, 70 minutes. And then series 17, you can then play around with the format a little bit. A couple of single-parters. If you keep the same number of episodes per series, preferably, unless you want to have a bit more, then I would not complain about that. But or take an episode out for a production block for another special. But let's keep it to 10 episodes, for example. But you can still play around with the story structure and which episodes are 2 parts, which ones are single parters after series 16. I'm not going to say that's how it should stay. I'm just going to say that's how it should be for the next few series, for however long the next showrunner's in, if that's what they want to do. Keep that going for a couple of years. Series 16, 17, 18. 19, 20 if we can. We'll see how it goes. Let's do series 16 to 18 to begin with, and then we'll see beyond that. So that's 3 years, 3 seasons. That'll take us up to 2029 if we get series out each year from next year. 2030 is the 25th anniversary of the new series as well. And series 20 isn't too far away either. Oh, that's a shame. Series 20 could have come out in 2030 if we had kept the yearly model. Oh well. But yeah, that's a suggestion. I think that would be the best way going forward. And then you've got this time to perhaps develop the characters in each story. And you've got about 5 stories worth of new ideas and or new takes on ideas to play with. And then series 17 onwards, maybe you can play around with having a few single parters and a few less 2 parters. And then you can have a few more ideas in there. So yeah, hopefully that would all work. But what do you all think, ladies and gentlemen? What's your recommendation for the format of the show going forwards, should it continue past 2026? Fingers crossed. Whether 2027 or 2028 will be when Series 16 airs or not. If it's not 27, hopefully we'll get another special. Or 2, or however many. In which case, Series 18 would be 2030, so this plan would go up to 2030. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Happy start of the bronze anniversary year of Universals. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.